Hello, hello, we are live. We're back doing an FFS.
Hello.
Hello, I suddenly got a wave of being back in the pandemic then, and like PTSD of, oh my God, we're doing the lives. Yeah, but we're back. This is a Grow Traffic FFS Friday Facebook session. These are our fortnightly sessions where we dive into something, a latest development that's happening, or we give you top 5 tips on something. These are quite specific sessions, quite short sessions, targeted on one thing. But this is the first one that we've done for over a year. So forgive us if we're a little bit rusty. But my name's Rachel from Grow Traffic. Who are you?
Me. My name's Simon Daly. I'm also from Grow Traffic, one of the directors here with Rachel, and the other one who's not on the screen today. You'll have to excuse me because I have been doing some errands this morning and have been unable to get back in time for the FFS. So, and which we sat in a car park on like a service station, and that's where I'm doing this from right now.
Yeah, you've just
So
pulled off the motorway, haven't you, to frantically do this?
I thought that would be the best way, rather than being late or not being there at all.
Yes, absolutely. Because today we are easing ourselves back in inverted commas, with a chat about AI and search, artificial intelligence, and how is it changing search? What are some of the latest developments? And then what does that mean? What does that mean for people who have businesses, who have websites, who are creating content, who are trying to get themselves noticed online? What does it mean for search engine optimization? What does it mean for our jobs and what we do? And it is quite, I say, we're, easing ourselves back in tongue in cheek, because obviously it's a humongous subject. It's massive. So many developments happening, and so many developments happening quicker than you can keep up with them at the moment. It's moving very, very quickly. But Dali, you were kind of the only one that could come and have this conversation with me, really, weren't you? So that's why you had to
I
pull off the
wouldn't go.
motorway frantically.
I wouldn't go that far. I think everyone's started to use it, so we'll have a good understanding. I've probably just been using it the longest and more than anyone else.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's start there then. I mean, that's a good place to start. How do you use AI? How do you use it? What do you use? And what has it meant for you in your job as a search engine optimizer?
So I use AI all the time now. So I started using ChatGPT last at the start of last December. No, yeah, 2022 now. So that's kind of not long after ChatGPT 3.5 came out, which was um, the the big leap forward, really, in the kind of public facing large language models that we've all come to use. I've had a paid subscription to ChatGPT 4 since that was released, really, and have access to some API things as well. I use it for everything. I use it to sense check emails. I use it to help me write reports. I use it to crunch data, to quickly analyze keyword trends in ways that I perhaps would struggle to. So I'll often take the average ranking data over, say, a year or two, and I'll stick that into a spreadsheet and then put that into ChatGPT, just load it and ask for a kind of quick analysis and start to use prompts to work out what we should be then focusing on. Obviously, all this needs human intervention as well. You the content that you get out of ChatGPT is generally only as good as the prompts that you put into it. I've also used ChatGPT 4 has the ability to create imagery, so I often use that for images that support blog posts. Um, I try. I do use ChatGPT now to write some blog posts. It's there's certain caveats that go into that. You've got to be careful what you do with that.
Well, we'll come on to that, but I mean, essentially, I mean, when you say you use, Chat GPT for everything, it has become a running joke now because you literally use it for everything. Like you will write WhatsApp messages using Chat GPT to us, and we laugh about that, don't we? Ha ha
I
ha!
mean,
So funny.
I'm well known that I can. I tend to be very succinct in the way that I deliver things in messages, and I just end up upsetting people. So quite often I put it through ChatGPT what I want to say, and it might give me some indications of what I should say, or I just grab what it's telling me I should write.
The
And
problem with that is, and we are going to come on to talk about some of the sort of pitfalls of AI, is that we all instantly know when something has been either written by you or written by ChatGPT. And so when we get messages from you, say like, I'm using ChatGPT because I know I am not a good enough communicator, so I'm getting help from ChatGPT. Whereas as the recipients of that, we get a message from you that's clearly written by ChatGPT, and we go, "Oh, you just got ChatGPT to write that." And
you know
sometimes
what's
we're a bit more
gone?
offended than if you'd tried.
Do you know what's interesting though? I've noticed that I'm starting to write like ChatGPT. So
Okay, that's interesting.
often the messages that I've written myself will read like ChatGPT, and I've noticed that I'm doing things like um, just without even thinking about it. I've started to notice that I alliterate more in my sentence structure
Mm,
because ChatGPT does that. I've found myself using commas before and, which
yeah.
is something that is a giveaway point for ChatGPT. But I've, I was always told one comma in a sentence, never a comma before an and. Keep your sentences short as possible. Start again. But I found myself having, because that's one of the biggest things that I read quite a lot of the time is the conversations that I'm having with the different AIs, and that's
Mm.
creeping into the way that I write.
Yeah, yeah. So AI is implemented. I mean, this is the thing. That's the comma in front of and is an immediate giveaway, and we're not talking here about the Oxford comma. So it is not a comma where there should be a comma before an and. ChatGPT just puts a comma before every single and that it uses, and it means I instantly spot it, and it drives me absolutely insane. And it's the one way that I mean, we have these conversations, don't we? How is Google going to know whether or not something's been written by a human or written by ChatGPT? I can see immediately when somebody gives me something that's written by ChatGPT. I just, it, I can spot it a mile off. So this whole thing of, how is it going to be detectable? It's immediately detectable. But then you're saying that, but on the flip side of that, I've started writing like ChatGPT now. So, maybe
Yeah,
we won't.
naturally, but it's a good point. So um, there's certain things that I do when if I want it to help me generate content. So the prompt that I'll give it will say something like it'll say what I want it to do, and then I'll ask it to write in British English, writing with short sentences, using simple language, and blah blah blah. So I'll kind of build the prompt around knowing the type of content that it'll spit out, and then I'm always going to review it. And one of the things I always do straight away, because we know about the comma in front of the and, is I do a find and replace and delete all the commas in front of the ands.
It
Um,
is interesting. I
straight
mean,
away
that
I'm
that
doing
whole
that.
thing about without getting, I don't want to go down too much of a techie Chat GPT rabbit hole because we have talked about Chat GPT specifically before, but you can get really specific with your prompts with it, and you essentially train it. I've done it where I've used it to help me come up with strategies for clients. So I've been doing a strategy, and I've said, come up with a content marketing strategy for a lawyer based in Lancashire, and it'll give me something, and then I'll go, okay, make that more specific geographically, and it'll refine it down, and then I'll say make this specific for lawyers that are family specialists, for example, and it'll refine it a little bit more, and then you can say yes, write it, use shorter sentences, reduce the word count. You can absolutely train it and get some really detailed stuff out of it, can't you? So it's a useful tool, but I don't want us to just talk about ChatGPT, because there are other things. When we talk about AI and search, we're not just talking about people who are using ChatGPT to create content. We are going to talk a little bit about content in a minute, but we're talking about other aspects of how AI is now being used by search engines. So Bing were the first ones to actually incorporate AI into their search results, and Google were working on their own model, whilst they were kind of gazumped by Bing. So Bing has actually been doing this a little bit longer than Google. Google then panicked and released their one. And so, there are pros and cons about how good these things are and what have you. But the upshot of it
So
is,
just to
yeah,
jump in there, Rachel, sorry, just to jump in. If anybody has the Bing version of AI was ChatGPT, or is ChatGPT, because Microsoft own a massive stake in ChatGPT, or in OpenAI, should I say? But Google's model they came out with, Bard, they've recently just released their new version, which is Gemini, and it's so much better. And I've used it recently, and I would say it's arguably better than ChatGPT in the answers
yeah.
it's given.
I mean, they were, like I said, they were developing it for a while, weren't they? And they were gazumped, so they released the first version perhaps quicker than they were ready for it, but then they have refined it quite quickly. And this kind of race for who has the AI is now, like you say, Google's probably taken over from where Bing is. Joseph's just asked, is grow traffic going AI? So I mean, it depends what you mean by that, because quite a lot of the stuff that we're already using is AI, which we'll explain. But yeah, so anyway, what that means is, in terms of search, the direct search results that you get when you go to your search engine and you ask it a question. Once upon a time, as in like last year, if you went and asked a question of your search engine, whether you typed it into your browser or you asked it of your Alexa, however you were doing it, the result that you got was mined from somebody's website. So the search engine went out, found a website that answered that question and returned that as the result and said, this is what this website says. What is now happening is you go to shout at your Alexa or Siri or your browser or whatever. If you ask it a question, that question now is generated by AI. So it is no longer getting it from somebody's website. Obviously, it's scraping the data, but it's essentially saying this is the answer to that question, and it doesn't need to send you to a website anymore to get that answer. Now, for us, we promote the websites of businesses to get them more found higher up the search engine. So one of the things that we always used to say is ask and answer all of those questions. That, we want those search engines to come to your website to find the answer rather than going to your competitors. And that was how we did it. And now they've cut that out entirely. That has massive implications for Google's business model. It has massive implications for the businesses that are trying to get their websites optimized, and it has massive implications for us as search engine optimizers, because essentially the basic thing that we did is now different. So, Dali, what do you think the implications are going to be of that long term?
I think that the implications. I actually think the implications are better than a lot of people think, because I always look at what search engines do from an economic perspective, and if you think about how what AI enables you to do, which is essentially create an absolute ton of content, and put it out there. That's part of the reason why Google has been ignoring content, as in not indexing content in the same way that it used to do. It used to basically index everything that it came across, and now there's so many trillions of pages of content that it's kind of ignoring it. I think and it's also ignoring a lot of the kind of what you might call more content sites. So I think that could be a good thing for those businesses that are really committed to creating their own content and creating unique content that actually adds something to the conversation and isn't just content that's regurgitated. Part of what I always look for when I'm thinking about content strategy is how many people have actually written this piece of content before. Is it a piece of content that is on that many websites that you might as well not bother? When I first started working in SEO way back when, one of the things that I could pretty much guarantee is that I get a piece of content to rank to at position one for a keyword, and that was because back then nobody had created a piece of content for that keyword or search phrase before, and obviously now we're in a much different position where virtually every piece of every phrase that you might think about putting into Google has been kind of written in some ways.
Mm.
I also think that
You're taking us down the content route, which is the next point. So you're doing what you do every time we do one of these, and you're jumping ahead to my next point. So we're
let me pull it back to transactional keywords then.
yeah.
Um, so what I would say is that that I think that AI is going to be is great for informational keywords, informational searches and requests and understanding things. But when you get to transactional searches or transactional things, you're probably still going to go back to a search engine. So I personally think that we're going to see a reduction in the number of queries for informational queries on search engines, but a kind of plateau, a similar level of transactional key searches, if not increasing as the economy kind of grows.
Okay.
So there we go.
So yeah, good. So I mean, the long and short of it is that it's a seismic change in terms of how the search engines are operating, because Google makes the majority of its money from ads and from businesses paying to get those top results. And if essentially people are getting their answers not from websites and not from businesses that are paying and what have you, that is going to put a big hole in Google's revenue, and that's something that it's going to be grappling with. There are other
Well,
things.
just to go back on that. So, whilst that is true, you got to think that the majority of search queries that people are paying for through PPC are good transactional keywords. They're not, people don't typically pay for informational kind of non-commercial keywords. So the vast majority of Google's revenue comes from Google Ads and not from AdSense, or not from the display network. Really. And so I don't necessarily think that will change that side of it. There will be fewer searches, I think, going through Google comparatively. Or no, let me say that again. There will be fewer searches going through Google than there could have been if AI didn't exist.
Okay, we are going to come on to talk about paid search as well, so don't jump ahead too much yet.
Oh goodness, thank you.
Yeah, I was trying to get a more top level sort of generalized. How is it going to impact the search engines and how they work? But it's fine. It's all good. Okay, so there's just a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about, which are multi-search and circle to search, which are two developments that came out sort of tail end of last year, and circle to search is one of those things that has literally just started being advertised. It's on the latest Samsung phone, it's on the latest Google phone, so you may have seen this advertised on the telly, and essentially it is that you if you have something on your phone and you are watching, say, something on Netflix, or you're watching a video on YouTube and you see something that you like in that video, you can circle on your phone, either using your finger or the stylus thing, and it will then search for that thing without you having to leave that app that you're on. It will then take you through, do a search, and find that thing. Whether you've circled a person, it'll bring up, this is that actor and this is what they've been in and blah blah blah. Or you can circle the example that is on the advert, the Samsung advert, is a lamp. So you can circle the lamp and it will find you where that lamp has come from, and or give you alternative examples to that lamp. Obviously that's going to make searching much easier for people. You don't have to stop the thing that you're watching and go into Google and search for it. Theoretically, they're saying you can do it whilst you're still watching that program. So that's a big change potentially in terms of how people search and the things that they search for and the number of searches that they do, that is generated by AI. So it's using AI to go and find other things that are very similar to that. Another one, the multi-search thing that I mentioned, similar thing actually. So this is kind of real life examples. So again, the example that Google gives for multi-search is if you are in a charity shop and you see a game and you don't know quite what that game is, you can take a photo of that game and ask Google to do a multi-search, and Google will say this is, dominoes, and bring up the search results for this thing. So it's using the image and it's giving you an image and text results, so rich SERPs, rich results pages, but it's telling you about that thing, so you can literally just go around and say what is this, and what is like Shazam for the real world essentially. Again, these are powered by AI, but what they're trying to push people towards is search becoming a sort of intrinsic part of the way that we live our lives. So a bit like now how we have our Alexa devices in the home and we shout, what's the weather going to be like? And Alexa, set a timer for this. And oh, you've dropped your phone. Alexa, set a timer, and Alexa, play this song. And Alexa, what does this word mean? And blah, blah, blah. And we're just talking to our devices now as second nature. They want us to use search in a similar way, so they're trying to make it easy, and that's coming back to that point you were making, Dali, about kind of will there be fewer searches, will it change how we use search? Any views on the impacts of that?
I mean, the search engines, the big tech companies, Meta included, I suppose, have been trying to inch us towards the augmented reality kind of future that they anticipate. And I think this is another step towards it. I mean, I don't know about yourself, but I've been using image search for years, so this feels like a natural, next step along that journey, really. And it will change. It will change SEO. It changes. If everything's not based on keywords in the way that we do things at the moment, then it will absolutely change the way that people market themselves online. I remember saying, I'd rather read something than watch a video about something. But I'm coming around to it. But I find myself watching more, videos on how to do things and information. I do still read the news. I do like to sit down and just scroll through different written bits of news. But other than that, I think I quite often go to video content now. Same with images, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I see that that kind of push towards us digitizing or bringing digital elements into every aspect of the real world is absolutely the way we're inevitably going to go.
And you know what, as well, I think, we as SEOs and the industry generally is kind of partly to blame, and Google pushed us down this road. I mean, there's that, you always use the example of recipes, don't you? If you want your recipe to rank number one, if I'm looking online for a recipe for like dauphinoise potatoes, for example, the top ranking one will be a website where somebody has written about the time that they went to France and had the best dauphinoise potatoes ever, and the story of when their mum first made it for them. And then they've got a whole bit about it's best to have your kitchen at this temperature, and I use butter from here, and I sometimes hand churn the cream that I'm going to use, and you have to scroll through pages and pages and pages of content before you get to the actual bit that is just the recipe, and then this is how you make it. And so now if I want a recipe for dauphinoise potatoes, I will search for it and I will find a video, preferably a TikTok video, because I know that somebody is going to give me in 30 seconds, this is how you do it. And I'm like, great, that's the information I need. Perfect. Off I go. And I think, like you say, now we are very much being trained towards this thing of short form content. You don't have to read through pages of stuff and adverts and scroll past things that you don't want to see in order to just get the tiny snippet of information you need. Here's a 30-second TikTok, someone's going to give you the answer. And so that's where we are gravitating now, because we've all got the attention spans of, newts, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, there we go.
Sorry, I'll be honest, Rara. About 2 minutes ago, I think I lost interest because I've
All
got
right.
the
Okay. Fair
attention
enough.
span of the news at the best of times.
Right. Lovely. All right. Well, there we go. Okay. So, those are the sort of implications of it on a search terms, for us and our jobs and the search engines. What does this mean for people that are creating content? So we've already touched upon it briefly, but if we're advising the businesses that we work with, the people who have websites, what type of content should they be creating and how should they be creating content?
I think that, well, from what I can see, longer form content is beneficial. Keep it very very niche. Is that topical authority and relevance is still important. Um, whilst search engines are moving towards video and images and have been for years, text is still, the primary thing that they consider. And so I don't think you can get away from a written um, a written sorry a content based a copy based strategy at this point. I think you should be incorporating other elements into your content strategy if you can, though, and this will kind of safeguard against things in the future. I always recommend to businesses these days that they focus on creating content in the consideration phase of the buying cycle. So that's the phase where people already know the product that they want to buy, or they know the different suppliers that could potentially supply them with the product or service that they're going to buy, and you're just giving them that information. Let other people worry about kind of educating your audience for you, unless you've created every piece of content that you could possibly imagine in that consideration phase. um, Stick to that until
I think
you've got a good supply of content on there.
it's just a point, a really good point, and a key point that I just want to put in a slightly different way, because um, you're absolutely right. And again, if we're thinking about how is that buyer journey going to change, how is the way that people are using search engines and engaging with them going to change, if they are getting their what we call top of the funnel answers from the search engine. So they're starting with, I don't know, what's a good family car, for example. And an AI is giving them that result first. Theoretically, by the time that they land on your website, or are at the point where they need your website, they should be further down that funnel. So they're not in that initial general information phase. Now they're more towards that phase where they're ready to compare you with other people, or compare your product with other products that are out there on the market, or figure out why you're a good company to buy for. So your content should be much more targeted on who are you as a company, why is your product good, what are the benefits of it above other people's products. Focus your content there. It's all about, are you adding something new to the conversation? Are you making it really, really specific to you? And are you doing things like case studies, product specific tests and things like that? All of that content that should be adding value and adding something to the conversation, but much further down the funnel is basically it, isn't it?
Yeah, but also, if you can find a new area where you are genuinely adding like a new piece of content, something that nobody's ever created before, then absolutely be going for that as well. And think about how you can make that content more unique. So can you bring in any reference to your experience within that sector or that market? The kind of understanding that you would only have if you have, I don't know, if you're a joiner that's only ever hung doors for the last 50 years, and you've got like every little hint and tip in the that's going, just sharing those things that perhaps an AI wouldn't be able to pick up on as easily and include. But also for people perhaps in less manual kind of sectors like ours, is there bits of research that you can do? Can you think about ways of and there we go once again.
Just
Can you
hold
think about,
it. Why you keep trying to balance it? Just hold it.
what was I going to say? Can you think about different ways? Can you survey your audience? Can you find little bits of, or your customers even, find different tidbits of information. I'll tell you what it is. The phone keeps wanting to turn its screensaver off.
All right, okay. Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
look, that's it, isn't it? Now, AI is going to be producing all of that generic content. So you need to be doing something that AI isn't doing. Now, that's not to say don't use AI. AI is great. And as you've just said, Dali, you're using it on a daily basis for pretty much everything that you do. I use it. I use it to come up with the structures of blogs. I use it to come up with ideas for content that I could create. I use it to come up with content marketing strategies and stuff. So AI has its place, but don't just let AI write all of your blogs for you, because essentially it's not really going to serve you any purpose. One of the things we've been doing with our clients recently is, as you say, going much more niche, much more specific to them, fewer posts, but better quality. And that is working. We're seeing demonstrably that is working time and again. So the strategy that we were advising you on, if you watched an FFS, 18 months ago, we were saying, ask and answer every question that your customers have. We're not saying that anymore. Don't do that. That's out the window. Now it is about just ask the questions and answer the questions that only you know the answer to, that only you can provide some really detailed knowledge on, and really good context on, and a really good case study on, and a really good client testimonial on. Focus on that. What are you doing that nobody else is doing? And target your content around that. And mostly it's going to be text still, but you are going to have to start thinking about throwing a little bit of video in there, using images, particularly, and optimize your images really across your website, because that's how people are going to start searching for stuff now. It's much more image and voice activated than it ever has been. We have run out of time, Simon Daly. We didn't even get to talk about ads. We'll have to
oh
come back
well,
to
what
ads
I did talk a little bit about ads, didn't I?
a little
So
bit,
we
a
all
little bit.
all know where it's up to.
We shall return to ads in a future session. But yeah, that's it. Simon Daly, final tips that you would add on in terms of this?
I would say that right now where we are, AI is changing the way that people use search engines, and it is changing how we think about the types of activity we do for search engines. However, right now, I feel quite confident that that in many ways it means that we get a better opportunity to focus on transactional keywords, um, which are the ones that our clients are really want us to. So that and it's given us those extra tools to do an even better job at focusing on those keywords. AI can crunch data in a way that I can't crunch. And you can do it in seconds what I can do in days,
Yeah.
and that's part of the benefit there. And that means that we can be really reactive to things that are changing, try to understand them in ways that we wouldn't ordinarily else be able to do individually.
I think as well, like there was a time, last year even, when the content machine had just gone insane, and we were producing content for clients, and if we were lucky we were getting some gains, but really we were just chucking absolutely more shit at the wall, for want of a better phrase. And it was a really hard slog. And actually now with just changing that strategy a little bit, and like I say, we're creating potentially less content, but better quality, more in depth, more personalized, more the kind of stuff that our clients want us to talk about anyway, because they were like, why you write a blog about what does a lawyer do? If they're engaging a lawyer, they obviously know that. Now we're going much further down, and we are getting much better results. The clients are seeing much better gains. We're getting them on page one quicker than we ever were. So for me, I think it's quite exciting and quite sort of reinvigorated SEO, if you like. We can do things that are making us happy, but are making our clients happy as well. So yeah, it's exciting times. There we go. Right.
There
And
we
on
go.
that front, that's it. We shall be back in a fortnight's time. We'll probably be talking about PPC and paid search. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Liz. Hello, there as ever. If you are watching this back in the future and you would like to ask us a question, please still do leave us a comment, because we will read it and we will answer it. And if you would like to email us with any queries, you can email us at info@growtraffic.co.uk. That's it. We'll be back soon. Thanks very much.
Before you go,
Yeah.
Rara, One
Yep.
second. Do you want to see my new hat?
Oh, go on then.
Check this out.
Oh, is that
How
for your
cool is that?
chainsaw?
It's got ear defenders. This is metal. It's a
Oh, wow.
metal visor. That's
Okay,
cool, isn't
good.
it?
Yeah.
Do you
Now
like
you.
it?
Yes, I do. And now you need one to stop you chopping your arms and your legs off as well, don't you?
What? Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Time to wave.
Bye bye, y'all.
Bye.